Are you thinking of buying a home in Wesley Chapel, Florida, but you have no idea where to even begin? Well guys, don't worry, because I got you covered here. I'm going to go through the blueprint that our team has put in place that's really easy to understand, so you can make that move to Wesley Chapel with the least amount of stress possible. So grab your notebook, grab some popcorn, grab a drink, and watch this video, take some notes, and if you have any questions afterwards, you can always reach out to me and ask my team and I. We love helping people like you. Let's dive right into the video. Okay guys, so without further ado, let's dig in. Now, the number one thing you want to do is you actually want to make sure if this is something that you really want to do, or if this is some Saturday night whim where you're sitting around bored on the couch, on your phone, messing around on the Zillow app. I do the same thing. If I moved to all the places I've been looking at over the last 10 years, I'd be a serial nomad. I was convinced I was gonna buy a place in Savannah one time, and then I'm looking out in California for something. But guys, get serious and please try and work out if this is something you really wanna do, because it's not for the faint of heart. And if you decide that the answer really is yes, then keep watching, because we're gonna give you all the tips right now. Now, the number one step that a lot of people actually overlook, unfortunately, if you are realistically gonna be looking to make a move, is you wanna find out realistically what you can afford for a home purchase. And this means you have to go through the pre-qualification process. We see so many people skip over this step and they're looking at $400,000 or $500,000 homes, falling in love with them online, only to realize they can only afford a $300,000, $350,000 home when the time comes. And it's heartbreaking because you have your heart set on something over here when what you can afford is over here, and of course nothing's gonna compare after that. So if you know somebody in the mortgage industry, reach out to them and have that conversation with them. And if you don't know anybody, you can reach out to us and we'll put you in touch with our local trusted lender. I've used them personally on my last 3 home purchases, and with the volatile rates at the moment and interest rates kind of doing a roller coaster ride, what you can afford can change very, very quickly. So you wanna make sure you have the most up-to-date information, you have plenty of time to clear up any credit issues that you might have, and that you have a realistic idea of what you can afford, or what is comfortable for you. So leave a comment down below if you want our local trusted lender's information, and I'll be sure to get that to you. All right guys, so now you have a better financial picture of what it takes and what you can afford when you're looking for a home in Wesley Chapel. Now comes the fun part of actually scouting real estate in Wesley Chapel, and there's a whole host of options. So be sure to go to my website at www.hardyrealtor.com. Take a look at the homes on there. I love doing that as well, so no judgment at all. And if you have any questions about any of the homes, reach out to us and we can help you navigate that. What you're gonna do next is you're gonna start creating 2 very distinctive lists. On the one hand, you're gonna start putting in everything that you must have in that property. And on the other side, you're gonna start putting things that you would want to have in that property. Now, when you're looking at must-haves, I would encourage you to stick to no more than 4 or 5 things. So if you have 3 children, it might be a must-have that you have at least 4 bedrooms. It might be that you must have a fence if you have pets, or it must have a pool because you wanna enjoy that Florida lifestyle. Maybe you wanna be in a particular subdivision, or you need to be in a certain school district. These are the things that are an absolute necessity. And the way to think about it is this. If you're saying I must have a 4-bedroom home, and I say, well, if we found everything else that your dream home must have, but it only had 3 bedrooms instead of 4, would you pass on it? And you say, no, you know what? I think the kids could share a room for a while. We'd still be interested. In that case, it's a want and not a must. Must-haves are an absolute red stop sign when purchasing. And if you're working with my team and I, we're not gonna show you homes that don't have those must-haves on there. That's how serious we are about it. Now be sure you're being reasonable, of course. If you're saying that you must have 5 bedrooms and a swimming pool and a fenced yard on an acre in a golf course community and you're only spending $150,000, that's probably not gonna happen. You can reach out to us and we'll tell you whether that's realistic or not, but you can get a pretty good idea just from searching online. And then the great thing about having the wants is that if we do the must-haves and we're still coming up with 50 or 60 homes that match those criteria, we can start adding in the wants and filtering that list down a little bit further. So spend some time with whoever else is gonna be making that decision with you, and make sure you come up with your list before you speak to your real estate agent, or with the aid of the real estate agent that you're working with. It's gonna save you a whole bunch of time looking around at a bunch of properties that are really not gonna meet the criteria. And the final thing I'll say about that is, for example, if you're saying it must have a fence, I myself would put that in the want, because it's pretty easy to add a fence after the fact. If a home had every other thing that you're looking for, but it didn't have a fence, would you really let it stop you from buying it when $1,500, $2,500 could put a fence in after the closing? Probably not. So again, make sure that the things that you're choosing are in the appropriate category. Now guys, a critical step as well, and this could sound self-serving and like I'm setting it up, but it really is true, is to reach out to a real estate agent as early as you can in the process. I've seen people spend months and months and months researching and looking at homes online in our area, only to have a quick conversation with me on the phone for 5 minutes and then say, oh, I didn't know that, and say, well, this area is not going to work for me, and go looking somewhere completely different. And they've just wasted all of that time and energy looking at homes where they're not even going to move to. So reach out to an agent early. You can reach out to us, set a Zoom appointment in the link below. You can call, text, email, however you want to get a hold of us. We're going to be impartial and give you the advice that's going to allow you to make the best decision that you can make. It's not about selling you a home in the area that we're in. It's about making sure you find your dream home in the area you want to be in. Now, like I said, realistically, your agent can help you with the previous part. And when you're reaching out to a real estate agent, I always highly discourage that you reach out to the listing agent on the property. Now, I have people reach out to me all the time when looking to buy a home on my listings. I always refer them to a buyer specialist on my team because I don't want there to be any sort of question of any weird goings on or conspiring to get better deals for one side than the other. When you're dealing with the real estate agent on the listing, it's like getting divorced and you and your partner using the same divorce attorney. It's probably not going to work out very well for one end of the parties. So base the agent that you choose off of Google reviews, Zillow reviews. We've got a ton of both of those, and make sure that you're dealing with a professional real estate agent and not just somebody who happens to be listing the property that caught your eye online. Okay guys, so now it's time to start looking at homes, and this is really the fun part for you guys and for us as well. And if you're working with us, we are going to make it fun, but we're going to be very, very serious about it as well. One thing that I've learned in my 20 years of doing real estate is that no home you see is going to be a 10 out of 10, or I should say probably only about 3 times in 20 years has that happened with a customer of mine. You're likely to end up making some sort of concession, no matter how minor it is, somewhere along the way. I've done it myself and I've moved around a lot, and I'll give you a great example of that. Now, the primary reason that my wife and I wanted to move about 4 years ago was it was peak COVID. The schools were shut down. She was an assistant principal. We had 4 dogs. We had 3 kids. I'm trying to work from home as well, and it's just absolute carnage and chaos. So we wanted to move somewhere with a little bit more land, slightly larger home, but the home office was super important for me. Well, of course, we go and look at a home that was unfortunately mislabeled online, walk into the house and absolutely fall in love with it. And it wasn't until we were talking about it in the kitchen after looking at it and we're saying to ourselves, I love this, I think we should make an offer. This would be so-and-so's room, this would be so-and-so's room. And she says, well, which one would be your office? And we're looking around and we realize that we're a room short. Now, we love the home so much that we made a concession on it, so please be a little bit flexible. The general rule of thumb is if you're ranking a home 8 out of 10, but especially 9 out of 10, you should be making an offer on that home. Again, the real estate agent can help guide you in that decision. We're not going to be pushing you into a house you don't want, but we have seen thousands and thousands and thousands of them, and we know something that suits your needs when we see it. We hate to see people pass up on an opportunity because they think they're going to find something better because the first house they see checks off all of the boxes, but that's the idea of it. We're here to make sure the homes we show you check off all the boxes, so don't be surprised when you see that. It's not necessarily that you're going to find something else better down the line. Make sense? All right, great. Now let's say you found the perfect home. Now it's time to negotiate the offer and write the contract. This is where using a professional as opposed to an amateur real estate agent really pays dividends, because you want someone who understands the market conditions of where we are, as well as where we're moving to. Now, my background was in accounting in the UK, so I'm pulling the numbers every single week and studying those so that we can see trends emerging. For example, if we see the list to sell price ratio going down, in other words, homes are selling for 97% of list value one week, and then 96.5%, and then 96%, and then 95.5%, we know that that's an emerging trend, and we can try and get out ahead of the game or look for listings that haven't undergone a price reduction yet. There's a lot of subtle ways that we can look at the market data in order to get you a really, really good deal on a property. And again, we're talking about saving thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Now, be aware when you're writing the contract, this is official. You're putting pen to paper. And if the seller comes back and signs it on the other side, you're committed to making the escrow deposit and moving forward. Although if you're using the as-is contract, you do have a get-out-of-jail-free card essentially during the inspection period of the property. But the things you're going to want to consider when making an offer are the purchase price, the escrow deposit amount, the closing date, the type of financing and down payment that you're making, You're going to want to consider the amount of time you give yourself for the inspection period. So there's a lot to consider there. And again, you want to make sure that you're considering every single point with the attention and care that it deserves. For example, we had great success when the market was super, super hot and we were competing against 10, 12 other offers, winning offers even when we weren't the highest, because we would make a lot of the other terms so appealing. So don't overlook any of them. Make sure you make the best offer that you can, because your dream home might only come along once. Now, next up, after we have got the contract accepted, is making the loan application if you're getting financing, and then scheduling those inspections as soon as possible. Now, in Florida, the most common inspections are your home inspection. That's where you're going to get a licensed home inspector to go through the entire property from top to bottom. Some of the other inspections that you might want to consider when buying a home are following. You want a WDO inspection. That's basically looking for wood destroying organisms or termites, because we're in Florida and those are pretty prevalent around here. Now, I will tell you, in about 2,000 home sales, I've maybe had a dozen instances where termites have actually come up on a WDO report. However, the remedy in those situations is run into thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And the WDO inspection only costs about $100 to $150. So it's a pretty sound investment to save having to spend all that money should you be one of the unfortunate few who finds WDOs in your property. And then depending on how old the property is, many insurance companies are going to require what's called a 4-point inspection. This is where the insurance company is going to require an inspector to verify that the main functions and systems of the home, like the roof, AC, plumbing and electric, are in tip-top shape and there's no liability or issues there. So it may be that if they find something, again, you end up going back to the seller and asking them to repair those prior to closing, so you can bind and obtain homeowners insurance. If you're buying a property in a flood zone, you may also be required to get a flood elevation certificate for homeowners insurance purposes as well. So be sure to look into all of those different outcomes and possibilities. And the final inspections you might encounter would be something like a septic inspection if the property's on a septic instead of sewer, or maybe a water test if the water for drinking is on a well and it's a VA loan. There's all sorts of little nuances in there, and a professional real estate agent can guide you on which inspections might be necessary, but be sure never to overlook them. Now, some of the things they find are going to be very, very minor things that you might not mind fixing when you move in, or some of them might simply be cosmetic, but the inspector's pointing them out. However, there may be ones that are more serious. It's likely when you're making your offer that you're not factoring in a roof replacement. So if the roof is shot when they do the inspection or is leaking, you might want to go back to the seller and try and negotiate some different terms in the contract or a roof replacement prior to closing, if that's the case. And again, I've seen people waive inspections in the past. I'm never a fan of doing that, even if it's a new construction. The $400 or $500 that you spend on a home inspection can save you literally tens of thousands. Please don't overlook it, and please make sure that you go through the inspection report with the home inspector and your licensed real estate representative to make sure that you're asking for the things that are important to you, and maybe overlooking some of the things that might be a little bit nitpicky that can kill a deal unnecessarily. Now, assuming that you are getting financing on the property, the next stage of this is going to be the appraisal. This is where the lender sends an appraiser out to the property to make sure that their investment and the money that they're lending you is protected. For example, the lender wouldn't be very happy lending you $350,000 if the appraiser comes back and says the home's only worth $250,000. It's basically a safety net for the lender to make sure that they're not over-lending you money and you're not over-borrowing based on the value of the property, should they have to, unfortunately, foreclose on it somewhere down the line. Now again, with volatile market conditions, home value can change very, very quickly in the course of just 30 days. So it's an essential step of the process to make sure that the offer that you're making is realistic, because you certainly don't want to spend $400 or $500 on the inspection and then spend $400 or $500 on the appraisal only to find out that the property comes in under the contract value and you have to start all over again. All right, now let's say we've gone through the inspections and everything's hunky-dory. And we've also gone through the appraisal and the value that the appraiser has come back with is sufficient to cover the contract. From there, we move on to the loan approval. So you provide all of the necessary documentation to the lender. The lender's going to verify it, put it through underwriting, maybe ask you for some additional docs, and then issue your loan approval. And that's the real final hurdle and where you can start relaxing, because from there, the title company are going to be in touch with you to schedule your closing. They're going to give you any wiring instructions and the amount of money that you need to wire for your closing to happen, and set up a time and day for you to come in and sign the paperwork. And from there, it's a matter of arranging for movers, arranging for utilities to be turned on the correct date, and lo and behold, you're in your dream home. Now, yes, this is somewhat of a simplified overview, but for those of you who haven't bought a home or haven't bought a home in a while, I hope you find this useful. Like I said, if you have any specific questions, be sure to reach out to the team and I on the Zoom link below, the phone number. You can call, text, email, whatever you want to do. We're always happy to ask questions, or leave a comment down below with your questions and I'll get back to you personally myself. Okay guys, if that all sounds great and you're still thinking of buying a home in Wesley Chapel, Florida, hopefully this has given you the information that you need to have the confidence to step forward and take the next step by contacting a real estate professional or a team like mine or somebody else who's reputable, and have the confidence that you can move forward with less stress. Again, you'll see all of our contact information down below here. We love speaking to people like you, or you can leave comments down below and I'll get back to you personally. I always respond to those myself. If you want to learn any more about the area, I've got plenty of videos on the channel about pros and cons, cost of living, video tours, map tours to give you guys more information about Wesley Chapel, Spring Hill, Brooksville, Tampa, Hernando Beach, and all of the surrounding areas. Until next time, please stay safe. I'm Ross Hardy from the Hardy team. It's time to love where you live.